Respected friends and elders, there's nothing morally wrong in Islam in the consumption of meat. There ought not to be any sense of guilt in the heart of a Muslim. The welfare of animals is part of the teaching of Islam. If there was anything immoral in the consumption of meat, then Anbiya wouldn't have consumed it. From Adam alayhi salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. If there was anything immoral in the consumption of meat, then meat would not be served in Jannah. If there was anything immoral in the consumption of meat, then meat would not be served on the day of Qiyamah. The very first food of the people of Jannah will be bread and meat. It will be taken from the liver of the fish. This is another story for another day. The very first food of Jannah and the very first bread of Jannah. But the point is, the sacrificing of animals has deep and profound morals. And it's not just an exercise, a tradition, and the purpose is not the consumption of meat. That's just a bonus. That's just a bonus. When Ibrahim alayhi salatu was salam prepared himself to present Ismail in the court of Allah on the ready, and the deed was about to happen. And Ismail alayhi salatu was salam offered himself up to Allah. In that moment, nobody was thinking of meat and food. Nobody. That was a historic moment indeed. That second in history, never to be forgotten. The very angels are observing, on the one hand, in amazement, in astonishment. Jibreel rushes down with Allah's permission from Jannah, with a goat as a fidya. Take this, leave him. And Shaitan is dismayed. He can't bear the thought that just as Adam was made close to Allah and he was rejected, Ibrahim has reached new heights of friendship with Allah, which Iblis will never achieve. He burns in that moment. And he comes from one direction and another to discourage Khalilullah, Dhabihullah. And Ibrahim flings pebbles at him and shoos him away. And that is the sunnah of the Rajam of Hajj. The Rajam of Hajj is to emulate that sunnah of Ibrahim. Because the emulation too is a way of casting away the shackles of shaitan from our hearts and minds. It has huge spiritual benefits for the Haji. The pelting of Hajj in those 3 days and the fourth one optionally. And 7 at a time. With the dhikr of Allah. And it is a moment of intense dhikr. We learn from one narration of hadith that the purpose of tawaf and sa'i, this is between Safa and Marwa, and the pelting, the rajam, the pelting, these three have been established for the dhikr of Allah. Wow. So it's not for selfies. Allah accept the hajj of the hujjaj. It's for the dhikr of Allah. So this sunnah was established when Allah was testing just once more in his old age. Ibrahim alayhi salam, would he be tentative? Would he have any reservation? My friends, as I said a moment ago, in Urdu, let me repeat this point. In English, in plain English, Anbiya alayhimus salatu was salam do not suffer any mental maladies. They can be grieved, but they are clear in their understanding. Allah Ta'ala says, mentioning his favors upon our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Ma anta bi ni'mati rabbika bi majnoon. These mushrikeen accuse you of junoon, of being insane. Through the favor of Allah, you are not majnoon. Anbiya are the most sane people that walk on this earth. And they don't have hallucinations. And they're not in any state of delusion. And their dreams are clear and true. And so, when Ibrahim saw the dream, in which he is sacrificing Ismail, he knew as Ismail did, that this was from Allah. And so, as we prepare
1:55 p.m.
for sacrificing animals this season, this Eid, what is the moral for us? The same, that we reject the invitations of shaitan when we want to get close to Allah. And this lesson is not just relating to Qurbani. This lesson is related to our mornings and evenings, our days and our nights, our professions and our families, our discretions and our choices. Everything that we do and say, everything that we think and intend, everything has to be governed with this principle. To please Allah, as we say in the Rajam, Ridal Rahman, for the pleasure of Allah, wa Rajmal li Shaitan, and to shoo shaitan away. That should be our spirit. That should be the essence. That is the moral of Qurbani. To give up our whims and desires and to make sacrifices for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah azza wa jal grant us tawfiq. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyil kareem.